every time. Welcome to Mary Wieden You. Glad to have you along this Friday. I think it was a leftover from a long, long, long ago when I used to be a smoker, and you always clear your throat before you open your mouth on the air, And it's just something that I do, and I do it before the show starts. Always, I do that, and it's always when the show is opening. But I hit the cough button when that happens. That's what that is. So welcome everybody. Glad to have you along with us. Hey, this is a big day in the city of Ridgeland, but it's for all over Mississippi, because guess what happens after this show? You can listen to the whole show, and then you can go out to Top Golf. It opens at 10 o'clock this morning. And we had the developer and the marketing manager, I think it was, operations manager, on here a couple weeks ago. And everybody's so excited about it. I think it's wonderful. It's a great facility. So cool. Have you looked at it or been there? And that's the voice of Nellie Neal.
I have not been, but I have seen it, and I am looking forward to it. I think it looks like a blast.
Do you play golf?
No.
I don't either.
I would love to. Trust me, I am so nearsighted and so farsighted that whatever I could do previously, I can't do anymore.
Well, I tried it once years ago, and I thought, well, on a hot summer day, I'd rather be on end or in the water. I don't want to walk around with clothes that'll give me a farmer's tan and all that stuff. So,
I have to say, some of the golf course facilities across the South are the most beautiful landscapes you'll ever run into, and they are so much fun to just go visit. I'll watch somebody else play. I'm not opposed to being there. I love it. But you are right. It can get quite dusty in the middle of the summer.
Yes, it can. That grass that they, the greens, I would imagine that is some kind of a chore to keep that as perfectly groomed as courses do.
It is.
One time years ago, as a matter of fact, I was back here when I was here earlier in the century. You believe in this? For 25 years into the century, but we'll be shortly. But there's the echo. One time when the golf course or when the tournament was out at the golf, country club, I was out there to do a remote. And one of the guys from Channel 3, Mikey Evans, who's their chief photographer, came up to the bus and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And stuff. He said, "Do you know anything about golf?" And I said, "Nope." "You want to learn?" I said, "Yep." And he took me around and showed me stuff. And
how fun.
There's
really always
neat.
Somebody, they're very willing ambassadors of their sport, that's for sure.
Yes, I like that.
Photographers and people who are interested in it. It's a blast.
It is, but I would think that. Would you ever want to be a golf course manager of the greens? My goodness, maybe you would.
It's a real difficult job for a horticulturist because it is absolutely you literally have to be on top of your game all the time, and because there's such different philosophies about how to do all of that, it can be very controversial work.
Right, chemicals or not, right?
Well, and which kind of grass here and what's in the rough and how tall it is and how often you mow it and where your equipment is and who's taking care of that. And it's a whole thing unto itself, but it's very strong in the horticulture world. There are many, many, many people who have gone through the same education that I did who specialize in turf management, and fortunately they're out there doing it.
Well, as I was saying before the show, my thing, I'm nowhere near what you all are, and I appreciate all the things that you do, but my idea is to put out a bunch of I like high what do you call them, plants that I like to put out every year. Hibiscus plants. Yeah, I do about a dozen, and I have a couple of other things, a couple of ferns and stuff, and then I'll have to do some Elaeagnus again this year in pots. I have one pot to do this wintertime. It's getting to be old, but it still looks pretty good. It survived a lot of stuff. It's a Cleara that I let get tall and thin.
Do you put lights on it?
No, it's at the edge of the screen and it gets the morning sun.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like Christmas lights.
Oh, those no, because it's in the screen porch. No, I have a dead bush that's full. It's the light bush. It's got full of lights.
Well, that's fun.
I haven't even turned it on this year, but anyway.
You're running out of time, Mary. We've got to get you into the Christmas spirit.
Oh, but Nellie, you haven't seen the front of my house.
Oh,
the front of my house.
Good,
my goodness. Last year I started, but then I got sick. I bought one 300 lights box and a couple of small ones. I thought, well, okay, I'll do the bush. Now I know how to do all across I got a garage and bushes that go to the other side of the house. I know how to do that, but I didn't get to doing it last year. So this year I said, okay, they're LEDs. And so this year I bought copious amounts of LEDs. And it looks like I have snow on my bushes.
I love that.
And I bought the clear white. I don't know the white. I can't turn my porch lights on, though, because they're yellow looking now. I don't know. That would look not
a little
too
bit
cool.
of a clash.
Yes, I just leave them off. But yes, I did. I don't know how many strings, but we've always done that. Bert used to do that all across from all that, and I learned how to do it. I just watched him. Do you do that? A bunch of stuff?
I do a bit. because we celebrate both Christmas and Hanukkah and anything else anybody wants to celebrate. Winter solstice is this weekend. We have all of that among my friends. So I do a little bit. I actually have one of the antique electric menorahs that were very popular for a brief moment. Someone gave to me years and years ago, speaking of previous centuries, long time ago. And so there are a lot of things that are just traditional in anybody's home that you put out. My mother's red Santa boot gets filled with nandinas. I mean, there's just things that you do, that you love. But I'm kind of into lights that have gnomes in them. They're all over my lemon tree right now, and just
multicolored.
Just playing.
Are they multicolors or?
Mostly the white ones, but the gnomes, of course, are dressed in Christmas outfits. So.
Of course, yes. Well, inside the house,
I say, of course. Like
well, wouldn't they be?
Obvious. Why wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, really. To be modest and celebratory. Well, inside the house, I have the clear lights. I used to do multicolors, but then I said, now I'm going to do all clear lights. And they look yellow. Oh my gosh, they look so yellow, but they're not close to. But if you look in my front window, you can see the snow outside.
Well, I'm so glad to hear this, Mary, because one of the reasons I was tickled you invited me is because I wanted to celebrate you and what a brilliant job you have done of getting yourself healthy.
Yeah, this time last year we were a little bit worried.
We were a bit worried.
Yeah, so my three wishes came true already for Christmas: to be home, yes. To be with my dog. Yes. And then on Christmas Day, I'm going to cook my own turkey. I'm going to have some people over cooking my own turkey. I love to cook turkey. Last year was, well, by Christmas time, I was like, through the day. And I think you all came to see me, didn't you, on Christmas Day?
Sure
Yes,
did.
you did. And I appreciated that. That was a tough time. And I was down to 107 pounds. I don't know if I looked it, but oh my God.
You were a little on the thin side.
I wasn't hungry, but then the last couple of weeks I was there. I started eating again, and but I was still like.
And of course, that's one
weak.
sign of recovery is that you're
hungry.
able to get an appetite.
Yes, and I had one, and their food wasn't bad, And my friend of mine who came and spent the whole day with me, who's just moved to Hattiesburg, by the way. She was really like we had some turkey that was it was dark meat turkey. It was turkey legs, but it was good. Whatever, it was really good. So anyway,
that's great.
Yes,
Leg is delicious.
Well, I'm a white meat eater.
Oh yeah,
it never happened. I didn't
something
realize.
about a turkey leg.
They're good.
I will confess that the first time I saw people walking around at an outdoor event holding turkey legs, I thought they were going to have a conflict of some sort. That this was like swords. I had no idea anybody ate that until much later in my life.
And go to the state fair and get them for $16 or $18 a leg.
Exactly, and people prize that. Now I'm over there with the ear of corn on the that they do there, but the turkey
I'm with
legs
burgers.
pretty cool.
I like to go. The best burgers now, I guess I've decided since Costas, passed away a few years ago. Remember Costas?
Yeah,
He always had
rest
the
in
best
peace.
burgers.
Always.
The best ones now are the A&Ws. I remember that from a long time ago.
My goodness.
A&W, yeah.
We had
used to have
Frost
burgers.
Top back in that same era, the root beer stands.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Yep.
Well, up north we had White Castle instead of what do we have here?
Crystal.
Crystal. Oh yeah. Now Bert was a Crystal man. The
tiny burgers.
He thought a box or a bag of crystals was just heaven. I don't.
The first time I ever went to Florida and they took me to a White Castle, I thought I had arrived.
My mom would pick up 24 crystals on the way home over in Pearl. She'd hit 80, and it was either the 24 crystals.
Oh gosh!
And we loved them. I mean, we'd eat them for breakfast. My dad would wake up in the middle of the night. Where are the crystals at? Cold and damp. That's the way you eat them.
This is the truth.
That or it would be the Sonic, and she'd bring like the steak sandwiches. It was just like bring like 4 or 5 steak sandwiches. You thought you'd arrive when you got that kind of treatment.
My favorite thing actually was for a burger night up north was in Michigan, Elias Brothers Big Boys. In fact, and they've sold Elias Brothers went out of business, but I think the company still has Big Boys.
Big Boys.
When I
still
go
around.
there, when I've gone to Michigan in recent times, it's been a while now, but that's all I want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't care. I want a Big Boy because I can eat nicely anyplace else. But Big Boys, they're much better. Shoney's never. Shoney's was. They were trying to be Big Boys. They weren't.
I came along from California where it was
they had Bob's,
Big Boy,
yeah,
and they had the Big Boy outside the restaurants and stuff, and that became a thing for a while.
Oh yeah, I think that was the same as our Elias Brothers.
Everybody had a Big Boy in that group,
My parents didn't, but I did. I just loved them, and like I say, to this day, if I go up there, I'll be getting me some big boys. How about that? Let's give our phone number. So Nellie Neal is here. Well, that's the only news story I have, by the way, is Top Golf opening up at 10 o'clock this morning. Listen to the show. Go to it. And I will go there one day. I'll probably, SWAT.
Oh, sure.
What the heck?
It's like a party while you hit
Yeah,
golf
there's a lot of
balls.
stuff.
Looks like it would be so much fun.
And they have I don't know if it's not a food court. It's a restaurant sort of, but it's not going to be fast food per se. It'll be good food. There's a terminology for what that is, as opposed to fast food junk. It'll be, if you want burgers, you can have burgers. If you want a steak, I think you can have a steak.
They call it fast casual in some places.
No, there's a name for that.
It's going to be quicker, but it's also going to be a slightly
Casual.
better food.
There's a word for it, and I don't know.
There's a few different
terminologies.
ways that they put that in.
Yes, but it'll be good. I mean, they have a chef. They hired a chef out of I think
sure.
he said Texas, because I asked about that when they were here. So it's going to be a big deal. And that's the anchor of what's going to be a huge development. They're going to have, because the developer, we got going on that because I want to have him back for economic development purposes, but the subdivision will have a riverwalk of its own. It's not going to connect to anything. It's going to be its own riverwalk. Isn't that cool? And there's going to be a grocery store. I mean, they're real big about that, but they won't say what it is. We know it's not going to be Publix. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be a pretty well-known grocery store over there.
Well, no matter what you do, people still have to stop by the store on their way home. So you may as well go ahead and accommodate, because it's a perfectly wonderful thing to develop.
Well, it's 888-808-8637 is our phone number here. You can text us at 601-879-4395. That's 601-879-4395. I never remember that number. And you can watch us supertalk.fm/Mary. And this is Garden Mama Nellie Neal. And so glad to have you along. It's like, okay, now we don't have to do anything more in the yards and gardens because it's wintertime. Wrong.
About a minute, you don't have to do anything.
Yes.
We were talking about your pre-emerge treatments for your lawn, trying to keep those weeds down.
Yes.
But what everybody needs to understand is that the reason we do this, there are places in this world, and I don't know where they are now because everything has changed so much, but there are places where you only have to pre-emerge once a year.
It ain't here.
It's not here.
No.
If you want to keep the weeds out of the lawn, and if they've gotten to where they're a problem, I always say unless your neighbors complain, if your lawn is less than 1/3 little flowers in the springtime, don't worry about it. But on the other hand, if the whole thing is taken, and you have weed after weed, you have burrs in the spring and some other thing in the summer and all this, that's not a lawn. That's just a mess.
We bounce.
So the pre-emerge will take care of the things that would ordinarily come up from seed and can really help you get ahead of some of those weed problems.
I think I've done pre-emerge in the past, but I didn't follow it up because when I went to your favorite place that advertises with you, I guess, can we see it on the air?
Sure, all the time.
Went to Lakeland in September.
I was there a day before yesterday.
Yeah. So I went in September and I said, look, I want to find something that will just put the grass and the weeds down and leave me alone for a while. I'm tired of it now. And okay, so high yield with Dimension. Dimension is supposed to be some great stuff. I don't know. So they said, put this on in October and water it in, and then come back in February. Is it the same stuff, I guess?
It'll either be the same one or a very similar product, because they're all weed. They're all seed suppressors.
Good. And then in May, and then I put out Fertilome Weed and Feed. I put that out, and it always amazes me. That was like, I've been having to mow the yard like in January and February. Well, that's crazy. So, and I think
it happens.
I think, oh, this yard looks so raggedy. It's terrible. And then June, along comes June, and it gets cut and it looks so beautiful. Like, how is that possible? Well, I did put the weed and feed, but
turf is tough.
I'm doing it, the 3 steps. Well, high yield, and then that other stuff. And one year, I will say this was a few years ago. For some reason, I was at Lowe's and I wanted some weed killer, strictly weed killer. That was battling weeds. And so I bought a product. I think Scott's made it maybe. It was strictly a weed killer. And so I put that down. Not bad. In like March, maybe, I guess it was, February, March. And so my yard guy, who had to retire, but not that year, I said, okay. He said, looks like you did good there. I said, now, do I put more of that out? He said, no. Oh, no. He said, I said, what about weed and feed? No. He said, you don't want to put any weed killer now. You've done enough weed killing, so now just fertilizer. And that's hard to find, just plain fertilizer sometimes.
When you look for classic lawn food in that same Fertilome line, it may not be the first one that you see, but it will be the one that takes care of an established lawn, really in the most healthy way, if you're not fighting all these other problems. One of the things people don't think about is the fact that you really do need to have a soil test every 10 years anyway on your lawn, because you're putting out fertilizers and you're putting your situation may change. You may not actually need the fertilizer. You may need lime to change the pH so that the nutrients become available to your grass. There's all kind of pieces of the puzzle. I'm not a big soil tester, but I do think that if you've had weeds that are a problem for several years, even though you're battling them pretty successfully, you might consider two things. First, the pH of the soil. Get that soil test. That's easy to do. But the other thing is that if the lawn itself is staying either too wet or too dry, certain weeds will be favored over the turf grass. So you're kind of like, you're literally sailing into the wind at that point. If it's still too wet, you're going to have X, Y, and Z. If it's still too dry, you'll have the others.
Well, what are those ones there's a name for them? I call it the octopus weed, but it's not. It's got a thing in the middle and it's got, all legs around it. What is that?
Is it flat on the ground?
Yes.
With little tiny leaves?
Yeah.
Probably spurge.
Oh, that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's
and that
related
comes
to
out.
poinsettias, but it's not something you want in your
The
lawn.
bad side of the family.
It's shall we say, the tougher side. They are definitely, the spurges are beautiful plants in many cases, but when they become a lawn weed, it does tell you that things are a little drier than you want, because when you break that one, it has that little white latex in the stem, and that tells you that it's able to hold on to all the water. When your lawn doesn't have any, it's got all of it.
Hoarding the water.
Yeah.
Well, they're easy to pull up. I remember
are.
one year, now this is a long time ago, I used 1 or 2 trash can liner bags full. And that was just in my backyard of that stuff. And I thought, well, that'll take care of that for years and years. Oh, I'm so silly. But anyway, you all are so good on your show. You have so many varieties of things. And my mind is pretty narrow. So, all right, everybody, about stuff. I just want to plant them, water them, and leave them alone. Mow it, edge it, and that's about all I want to do. Okay, we'll be back in a couple minutes. It's Mary Wieden and You.
What's different about us?
Well, that's
a good question.
Oh, really? How long does it take?
Everything
Yes,
is different about y'all.
Really, absolutely.
Locke
Don't
Ward was
even think of it.
Locke was listening in, and y'all were talking about golf, and I didn't want to interrupt this amazing
Our great
conversation, but he goes,
conversation.
"You got to tell him the story about the last time that we played golf together." And this had to be 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And I don't even think he
Did you
talked.
play with him?
Yeah, with Locke.
Yeah.
I'd play here and there. I used to play all the time. But Locke, we went out one day, and I always get so mad about halfway through the round because you just blow up. The anger
That
comes
is
out.
part of why it's so much fun to watch people play golf.
Oh my God, man! I mean, this is after I've thrown putters and stuck them into lakes, standing up and broken.
Temper.
Oh God, yeah! I have to work. So that day I missed a putt, I think, and then I got the flag and threw it like a javelin about 50 yards, and so he said, "You got to tell him that story." And that's the last time. I don't even think Locke talked to me for like a month or two
He's
after
probably
that.
bothered, worried about it. Like, do I need to talk to this guy?
That's got some issues, man. But
Whoa.
anyway, yeah. So back to golf.
That's
yeah.
funny.
Well, we're done with golf.
It definitely,
it's-
is true that people who play golf tend to have an otherwise very not exciting emotional display. But
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of people that I have known in my life save it for the golf course.
It's so
High
beautiful
tunnel.
out there, though. That's the thing. It starts out so perfect.
That's
You
right.
got this
It seems so
manicured
perfect.
grass and all these beautiful plants.
And I can hit that.
yeah, and I can hit it a
no
mile,
trouble.
and then all of a sudden one shot, and it just derails your day, and you can't put it back together again. It's like Humpty Dumpty. It just doesn't work that way.
You have to, it's like when skating. When you're going along, you're doing a great job and stuff, and you fall, get over it. Just get up and keep going,
Get up.
because
That's
if you,
right. That's right.
if you let it get to your head, you're wrecked for the whole rest of your program or whatever, and you see that. So I guess the same way with golf. Well, did you ever get a hole in one?
I watched my grandfather at like 75, top one, and worm burned it all the way down the fairway on a par 3, and it rolled up the hill and went on the green and hit the pin and dropped in. He goes, "Boy, I think I got a hole in one." I said, that was the ugliest shot I've ever seen.
You have something to
and that's
aim
the way they
for,
work.
though.
Yeah, really. There you go. Well, but
I've
you'll
witnessed one,
you'll
yeah.
go to Top Golf, I'm sure, right? Everybody's going to go.
Oh
to
yeah,
Top
I'm
Golf.
going to go check it out. And
It's-
I'll take my brother-in-law, and we'll go over there, and we'll see who can hit it the furthest, and maybe drink the most beer. And
Well, better watch out for when they get the grocery store over there. No, you can't hit it very far because you got all that fencing.
yeah, they got the netting and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The
Now-
first time I saw that fencing, I thought, "What is that?" I didn't
Catch those balls.
Golf balls.
Things are
Now
about
I know.
$5 a pop now.
No, ooh, what?
Yeah.
They're that bad? I mean, you can't buy a little golf ball for a couple of bucks?
Used,
I don't know.
Maybe. I
I
mean,
have
you can come
no
over to a yard sale and get them
I have
for that.
no idea.
Now,
They have risen in the books of swag, that you're looking to buy something. I have magnets for Garden Mama. You look for different things. And golf balls used to be the cheapest one. Everybody would buy them and give away 3 at a time. Oh, no. Now you have to win a drawing to get the golf balls.
Back when I was doing that giveaway stuff at Ole Miss, I ordered tons of Titleist Pro V1s with the logo on it, and they were cheap. I mean, you could get a truckload of them, at a discount bargain basement price. Good luck now.
Guess you ought to train the dogs to go when it gets in the water. Train the dogs to go because your dogs are water dogs.
Oh yeah.
Train them to get those golf balls out of there.
If I just tell Hawk it's a bird, if I say the word bird, what did you say? A bird? I mean, he's ready to go.
Anything's a bird.
Anything that moves.
He probably.
Is a bird.
Have you ever seen him swim?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. He's now he's as big as a giraffe now. So I haven't seen him in water since he's gotten so much bigger. But
the thing about German short-haired pointers, I don't know if we ever told this, but I don't know, a couple hundred years or so ago in Germany, the tax people they all have dogs for hunting, for upland game, and for water. Everybody's got them, and so the tax people decided, well, we'll tax the dogs separately. If you've got a water dog, it'll get a tax. You got a bird dog, it'll get a tax. So the breeders said, we're going to do something about that. So they bred water into the German short-haired pointer. And even though we had one for a number of years, I remember seeing her go in Lake Huron. I don't remember much about it. I mean, she wasn't a duck hunter or anything, but they will do that. So they only had to pay one tax. So,
Isn't that funny?
Smart.
That makes me think about my home state of Louisiana, where there were no closets in the houses because each individual room caused your taxes to go up. That's why armoires, pieces of furniture to hang clothes in, are so popular in that world.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
It's part of that French Napoleonic Code stuff.
Where in Louisiana did you grow up?
I grew up in North Louisiana and came into my full self in South Louisiana.
Okay,
as we all do.
Well, I have a friend who's from Shreveport. You might as well be from Texas. I mean, they're like 20 miles from Texas.
Almost.
Almost. And went to school at LSU and learned how to be a Louisianan, I guess.
Sure.
That's where you learn all that kind of stuff. So it's Mary Wieden You, and it's Nellie Neal, our garden mama. Well, a little bit of Christmas stuff. So I start off by saying, what are we going to do over this time when you think you don't have anything to do in your yard, like me? But people who are more devoted than I am. What can you do to occupy yourself or get your yard and your whatever's ready for spring planting?
Well, it's a real good time to prep the soil. We want to plant trees and shrubs between November and February so that they have the opportunity to put their roots down before we ask them to send up new leaves. So if you're doing any of that, preparing your soil, the main thing to do if you're going to prepare soil is go dig a hole in it. It's about 6 inches deep and fill it up with water. If it does not drain away in 45 minutes or an hour, you're going to have to do something to loosen up the soil. On the other hand, if it drains away exactly completely, you're still going to have to do something or the tree won't ever have enough water to it. So that's where we get into adding organic matter to the soil. Luckily for us, the power of carbon is that it will make soils that don't drain, and it will make soils that drain too fast drain more slowly.
Pretty good.
It ameliorates. I love that word. It ameliorates the conditions.
That's a good one.
And so if you do that now, then it's ready when you're ready to plant. The worst thing that happens, people talk about they want to put in new roses. So they get a gift certificate or they get, for example, Antique Rose Emporium. You can order roses there and they'll ship them to you in the spring, or David Austin over in Texas. A lot of these rose companies they're ready to get you ready. But if you wait until that rose arrives and you go out and dig a hole in your yard and realize that your soil doesn't drain, that thing's going to sit there in its pot and get old when it should be getting growing. So it's important to know what you got and to work on it so then you can make it all better when the plants arrive. We've had years where February was so wet or so icy or so all that stuff, that we don't like, that we think of as winter. You and my brother-in-law from Michigan understand that that's actually a 6-month affair that we only have a moment of here, but we don't like it. So that's why y'all moved down here, and we're glad of that. But it also gives us the chance to know that we can plant things in January and come right back around, and they won't be they will not get flooded out because we prepared the soil in the first place.
Well, when we had that one a few years ago and it was so ghastly, that might have been about 21, maybe 2021, something like that. Yeah, it might have been. I remember the only way that I could get to my street, and my dog is always, she's still even with her kidney disease, got to go for a walk every day. She's wanting to walk in it. So all I could do to get to the street, I had to back my car down the driveway and then back in so I'd have a place to walk to get down because it was all icy. You have no, if you don't understand that, you don't have any power at all over ice, very little, unless you got like cleats in your shoes.
Clearly,
I suppose
I have no power over ice.
No, and then the street was all gobbled up with stuff, and old Heidi's wanting to go. We had to turn around, but that was bad. I mean, that's they don't have that up there.
We're not used to it, and when it happens
we
to
don't know
us
what to do.
at that level, we truly don't know.
No, we don't know what to do. And the best thing you can have is salt, not table salt, but whatever, rock salt. But they don't have rock salt around here. When we had that,
we go and buy milk and white bread and feel like we've done all we can do.
That's it. Or throw some sand. Well, that is not too cool. Or slag.
It doesn't usually help.
It doesn't look very good. Because I remember people up north saying, "Well, Mary, don't you have any salt trucks?" Salt trucks? Heck no. We don't know that here. They put sand on it and they go, sand? They think that gives you traction. We're not. Hopefully,
really.
We don't know what we're going to have this time of the year. But
we're hopeful. Right now, we're looking at being the center of the country over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to have a chilly moment, and then it's going to be again higher than average temperatures. That's all wonderful right up until it drops out, till the bottom drops out, whenever that happens, because it's the change. I can hear it in my throat and I can hear it in yours. We've all got a little bit of crud from the weather change. It's just different. One day it's one season and then the next day it's the other.
Oh, yeah. I was putting out pine straw on a weekend wearing shorts, and then a few days later it was, wear warm clothes and all kinds of.
Put on your layers.
Well, yes, or I have certain things that I wear that are like furnaces. Just put a furnace on. If the top of me is like furnace in, everything else is cool. So what do you think about, I know what I was going to do. I wanted to grow some potatoes. And I've done this. We've done this in the past, where you just buy, a red potato someplace and just cut those eyes out and throw them in a pot or throw them in the ground or whatever. And when the leaves get to be about, maybe 6-7 inches long, then you pull those potatoes out, and they are wonderful. And I'm sure you've done this because
that's certainly one way. There's
potatoes.
You can do new potatoes. You can do new potatoes a little bit more easily than we can do the great big bakers.
Yeah.
We don't do those as well here, but we grow great new potatoes.
Yes,
and the things like blue Carib and some of the other really odd potatoes are delightful for us here.
Well, if you have never had potatoes like that, do this. Just throw them in there. I'm going to do it this year. I keep saying I'm going to do this, but I think you do it in January, February.
February is when we plant them.
And then when you eat them, they're so good that what you get in the stores are like cardboard.
Well, it's because anything that you grow at home and eat quickly after it is harvested has a slight greater edge for you than something that, no matter how close it is. For example, I'll just give my shout out to my 2-dog farm people. They have the best produce that I eat on a consistent basis because they have a farm at Flora. They have a farm store. Their volume is great. Their joy at what they do is tremendous, and it's one of those things. If you don't devote your life to it, you're not going to produce the results that, for example, that they do. And therefore, I know if I want great Brussels sprouts, if I want great carrots, I know where to go.
Where do they go? Where is that place?
The Farmers Market in Jackson has their stuff on. They're there on Saturdays, but they also have a farm store in Flora, which is open, daily. And it's just one of those situations where if we want to support local small farms, we got to go support local small farms. We got to buy their stuff and appreciate it, and that's why it tastes better. One of my greatest goals when I was a kid or a young woman was to plant the potatoes in February, plant the green beans in March, and harvest all of it before Mother's Day to impress my parents. And it worked.
Okay. Cool.
They couldn't figure out why I had gone from English into horticulture, and I had to do something.
Oh, that's an interesting. Yes. Well, I was thinking about being a vet. And I took a look at the math and said, nope, got to do something that doesn't have any math in it. Communications, that'll do it.
Yeah. When I took chemistry and pathology and all those things as my electives, my English professors thought I lost my mind. But it turned out to work for me.
Well, here's a question from somebody who says, how can you get rid of Anna grass? Po Anna?
Poana. That's very difficult.
What is that?
Poana is a weed that comes up. It's just grass, but it's not one that we cultivate. And in fact, it is sometimes helpful to do it with the pre-emerge. If you know when it's going to appear in your lawn, you can put the pre-emerge out about 6 weeks ahead. It's also something that you can use a weed killer on, that weed and fee that you're talking about.
Oh, you can use that. You don't want to go spreading out a bunch of what you call it, Roundup. You don't want no. That'll kill everything else for a while anyway.
And you.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
You have to be careful about that. All right, so we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Our time is flying by, as it always does on Mary Wieden You. I'm a good weed whacker too, I can tell you that. Okay, Garden Mama.
Yes, ma'am.
You sent me a copy of your newsletter. It's brand new. Congratulations.
It is. Thank you very much. We changed the format of it, and I'm an old English major, horticulture major person. You know, I write about plants, but I also photograph them. I have been doing that since the last century. That sounds so crazy.
I know, but
it's true. And the result is that I have the opportunity now to put out a whole lot more photography in it, and a better format, because I have a better opportunity to do that now. So I've been doing this particular one for about 5 years. The new format started in just a couple of months ago, and it is getting really good response. If you're interested in plants, if you just think that I'm funny, if you like to listen to what I write and how I say things, any of those reasons is great. But if you want to keep up with what's going on weekly in your garden and what should be going on weekly in your garden, the All Things Garden Mama newsletter is the answer to your prayers. It will be there on Friday morning in your email box. It's already been sent out this morning. And in fact, I'm happy to tell you that it's the great joy of my life. I really, really love having the opportunity to put those pieces together and tell you what's going on, plus showing off some pictures of my garden and other people's gardens that I like. So send me a note, mamaonair@yahoo.com. If you're already a subscriber, remember, it's time to renew, because we only do that once a year. And it's $60 a year, but if you send me $100, I'll give someone a gift. So if you have got somebody on your list that you have not yet figured out what to give to, let me be your elf. I'll be happy to. I do Zelle, do PayPal, and as we say, checks are still good too. And there are a couple people who take me out to coffee and give me cash. So if you want to do that, that's fine.
It's well worth the money. It's a bargain.
Thank you very much.
I promise you.
I appreciate
How often does it come out?
Every week, every Friday.
Oh, okay. So 50.
Yeah, I've been telling her she needs to go up on her price, but that's just the old stockbroker in me.
That's you. That's right.
Who does the computer work on it? Who does it? Who prints
Me
it?
and my daughter.
Oh, very good. And what kind of paper do you use?
It's not paper, it's email.
It's just, but you, okay.
I can't.
So you do your own.
I can't do paper anymore. Paper got too expensive. That's why I stopped doing the newsletter about 10 years ago. I couldn't afford it anymore. I would literally talk about raise the prices. I'd have had to raise the prices and still not made any, So we've gone to the new age, folks. Yep. And this one's actually visible on your phone, so you can also see
it. Yes, it is. And yeah, oh yeah. I mean, if it's not on your phone, then it doesn't exist, I guess.
Well, there's I'm one of those people that always wanted to have everything that I know right next to me so that I could access it. I never wanted to read everything in the library. I just wanted to know how to find what I was looking for. And so modern tech is the answer for me. Someone just recently sent me a picture of the Rosie the Robot Christmas ornament, because I'm such a Rosie the Robot. I love all that tech. I want that. And for me to be able to look at my phone and pick up something that I might remember, but I might not. That's pretty cool. But I can find Mary in it. I can, I can come to SuperTalk. I can do all sorts of things right there in your hand. That's wonderful.
How does your garden grow right now? What's going on in your yard?
Wow, right now, this week I just planted a whole bunch of stuff. I just planted parsley and sage and thyme. No, I didn't put any sage in. Put in parsley and thyme and 2 different kinds of oregano, because usually I would be doing this in October when the leaves are changing, but my basil kept growing until the couple of freezes. So that's why the parsley has just gone in. But I took off the excess leaves of it and put those into the freezer yesterday. So that's something that I do every year too. So that's going on. It's also time to plant daffodils. I've got a few of those sitting around waiting to be. They're looking at me from the counter. They're sitting there, the pretty little bulbs, and they're like, okay, it's time. So it's really time to do that.
I just got a Christmas gift the other day from a friend. She grows these in her house. Every year at Christmas time, she gives out now I can't even think of the name of it. It's a big plant with goes trumpets-looking bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, amaryllis.
Oh, fun.
Amaryllis,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I never
One of the
know
best gifts in the world.
Yeah, just give it some water, give it some sun, but I don't know what you do with it after. I guess you can keep it. You plant it in the yard. And then what does it do in the summertime? I have no idea.
It'll be green leaves, and then next year it'll die down in the fall and come back in the spring and bloom again.
It's got these beautiful. It's got a couple of beautiful buds.
Mm-hmm.
I do need to water it. Now I am. Actually asked you about this on your show a few months ago because I had this thing. I used to have it was a shrub and it crashed. And this thing came up, and that's what I call agricultural experimentation because something grows like, ooh, what is that?
And seedling took advantage of the situation.
It's a pokeweed. And so that's what you said. So I'm leaving the pokeweed to see how it does over the wintertime to see if it's going to continue its experimental name. But what is that again? It's not the one that you make salad out of?
It's not poke. It's not poke salad. But poke. It's for anybody that cares. It's phyllotaca. But the point is that this is a tall plant that has a red stem. Everybody has seen it. They may have pulled it out when it was 2 inches tall, or they may have looked around and suddenly realized that there was this thing in the back of the flower bed with berries hanging off of it. Yes. And the birds are just loving it. I kept one outside my office window for a number of years just because I love seeing the birds feed on it. And, to me, that's a treat to get to watch them. It's like my own Animal Planet. So I enjoy that. But it is a plant that will reseed itself. It does not die back until it freezes. And when it does freeze finally, it's already sent its seeds out. So you will have it as long as you would like to have it, but it will come up every year and grow another plant.
So if you cut it, you don't just trim it, you cut it way down, huh?
After when it turns black and falls over, you'll know it's time.
It's like me murdering my myrtles. I do
in the freeze. When in the freeze, cells in plants expand and contract all the time anyway. And when we go through this really cold and then really warm and really cold and really warm, we blow them up sometimes. So there's a certain point where things like banana plants and your pokeweeds and whatnot, those seeds in the stem just can't take it anymore. I mean, the cells in the stems can't take it. They just explode and fall over.
I'm just going to leave that. I'll just leave it.
And then you'll look down there. You'll be over there in April and go, oh, look, it's 4 inches tall already. And then it's 2 feet. And then the next thing you know, it's got berries on it.
Well, I'll just leave it then. Let it take that corner.
I've really taken to the plants that we don't grow. I teach cut flower growing. I do a lot of things that are encouraging people to grow things. But there are a lot of other plants that we don't really actually grow. We just kind of have to tend, and that's one of them.
Well, I'll tell you what I hate is I have neighbors that have a palmetto tree or palm tree, whatever, and those seeds, those damn things grow all over my yard, and they're just totally obnoxious. And you have to really dig down to dig them up. Or if you're going to put a killer in there, you gotta really squirt it way down in there. That's very annoying. And I've let a couple get big just to see. Oh, they're awful. They're totally obnoxious. I would not recommend.
I don't know what plants you're talking about.
Well, it's a palm tree. It becomes a palm tree, but they come up like these thick blades of grass, and they get bigger and bigger, and then they start getting prolific and nasty, and then they make fans.
You should send me a picture because if it's palmetto and you have them coming up in your yard, we can dig them up and make some money, Mary, because those are hard to sprout. So you've got a good environment for them.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I should make a fortune then,
People
honestly.
are looking for those.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a native plant. It's a wonderful. If it's palmetto with the big fan.
Yes. The big fan.
It's a bolder plant than I think you would like. But,
I don't like it. One of them has been cut in half, and then the other one is completely gone. I said to the person, just cut that all out. Just kill it. I don't like it. I don't like that. So there. And this year, by the way, I hadn't had any in a couple of years, but this year I got some more mushrooms. But 2 years ago, I had them they made a ring around this thing, and I put a little Alice in Wonderland figurine that I have under one of them. It was kind of cute, but they're not funny. And so, but I'm not the only person there. There are quite a bit around my neighborhood too. Does that mean that we have old yards, or what does that mean?
Well, it has. They're always going to be there, and the weather conditions in a given year obviously make a difference as to what ones can sprout. But usually, if it's a line of mushrooms, there's a tree root far buried in there that just finally got either enough water or enough temperature change or something for those spores that were all there. They were there the whole time, but they just finally got a chance to grow.
Well, it was so strange because 2 years ago they made a ring, around my ear. I was like, well, what in the world is that? How does that happen? But I guess I shouldn't worry about them. You know,
if you find that they're a big problem, again, it's a case where lime is your answer.
How do you spread lime? By the way,
It depends. I'm in favor of granular lime, not powdered lime, but people will take powdered lime and just dump it on stuff.
Yeah, I go for granular.
Yeah,
granular. Yes, I do.
It's harder to inhale.
Yeah, and it's, I think, more sturdy. It's going to stay in there. It's not going to blow off like that powdery stuff. Well, that's good to know. And so what about Christmas trees? What do you do with your old Christmas trees? I have artificial because they're safe, and I don't like to buy a beautiful tree and throw it out on the street when I'm done, so I have one. It stays in this little box, and it's always there. What do you do with a Christmas tree when you're done with it?
Well, a lot of people will, as the needles fall off, they'll hang oranges or strands of cranberries or things for the birds. They'll turn them into bird feeders for a period of time. There always are projects to collect them, and there's the research is not as great as we would like it to be for their ability to help hold a coastal edge, for example, or those kind of things. But you can certainly recycle them. They'll take them and chop them up and turn them into mulch.
If you bought one from a Christmas tree farm, could you, after a period of time it's in the water, does it start to sprout roots? Oh, we got to go real quickly. No, it's bound for the street.
Gone.
It's gone. But you couldn't go to places, I think, where they're in pots, so you can plant them in your yard. That would be a nice thing to do.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, happy holidays. You got
Hanukkah and have a wonderful
Hanukkah,
holiday.
Christmas. Thank you. You too. All right. Good talking to you all. And gosh, I'll be back on the 7th of January because I'm taking a couple weeks off. Ha ha. Okay, everybody.
I'll see y'all tomorrow on the Garden Mama Show.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. See you in 25.